Send me $3,000 for prom, my sister said. I replied, earn it yourself. A few minutes later, my parents texted, pay or get out of this family. That night, I pressed cancel, cancel, cancel. Everything by 8:30 the next morning. Hey, Reddit, Candace here. Figured I'd finally share a story that's been sitting with me for a while. The kind that starts with family drama and ends with a reality check I didn't see coming. It's not one of those sappy forgiveness tales either. Just a woman realizing that sometimes helping turns into being used. Buckle up. This one got messy. I, Candace, 35, female, run my own small business. Doing all right for myself. Nothing fancy, but I built it from the ground up. No handouts, no shortcuts, which is probably why what happened that morning pissed me off as much as it did. I was in the middle of a client call when my phone started buzzing like it was trying to self-destruct. I ignored it once, twice, and then again. By the fifth buzz, I thought something had caught fire somewhere. I glanced down, saw my sister's name, Lexi, and immediately rolled my eyes. She's 18, senior year, and the kind of person who treats every minor inconvenience like a national crisis. I let the call go to voicemail, thinking I'd deal with it later. Then a text popped up. Send me $3,000 for prom. I actually laughed out loud. During the meeting, my business partner looked at me like I was losing it. I thought maybe she added an extra zero by mistake, or it was some stupid joke. So I texted back, you mean $300, right? Nope. She hit me with, no, $3,000. Dress, limo, nails, photos, spa for my skin, hair. I want it to be perfect. I just stared at my phone for a full 30 seconds. $3,000 for a high school dance. I could throw a decent weekend trip for that money and still have cash left for steak. I typed back, you've officially lost your mind. Get a job and earn it. Simple, direct. End of conversation, right? Wrong. Within a few minutes, my phone lit up again. This time, it wasn't her. It was my mom. Your sister's worked so hard this year. Don't be selfish. Help her. Then my dad. Pay for her prom, Candace. It's the right thing to do. The right thing to do. That phrase has been their favorite line since forever. It basically translates to, do what we say, no questions asked. I put the phone face down on the desk and stared at it like it had just insulted me. I'd helped my family plenty, more than I should have, honestly. Every time they said they were tight on bills or needed a little help, I wired money, no hesitation. But $3,000 for a prom? That wasn't help. That was entitlement with glitter on top. The rest of the day was a blur. I kept checking my phone between tasks, hoping someone would text back an apology, or at least an ounce of common sense. Nothing. Just silence. Around noon, I got a voicemail from my sister. I didn't even need to hit play. I knew exactly how it would sound. Whiny, guilt-trippy, dramatic. I still listened anyway because I'm a glutton for punishment. Her voice blasted through the speaker. You're so selfish, Candace. It's just prom. Why can't you help me for once? For once. I nearly dropped the phone. For once. I've been paying their bills for years. I'm the one who helped after Dad stopped working. I deleted the voicemail halfway through. By 3, I was too irritated to focus. I closed my laptop and sat there replaying the whole thing in my head. My sister's tone, my parents' texts, all of it screamed one thing. They expected me to say yes. Not hoped, not asked, expected. That's what got under my skin the most. Somewhere along the line, helping turned into obligation. They didn't see me as family anymore. They saw me as an open wallet with Wi-Fi. I tried calling my mom just to clear the air. She answered on the second ring, voice already laced with attitude. Are you done ignoring your sister? She snapped. I took a breath. Mom, I'm not paying $3,000 for a high school dance. That's ridiculous. You can afford it, she shot back. You own your own business. It's not like you're struggling. And that doesn't mean I'm financing a circus, I said. She's 18. She can get a part-time job. You don't talk to your family like that, she hissed. We're struggling, Candace. You have no idea what we've been through. Struggling, I said, half laughing. Then why does she need a designer dress and a limo? Silence. Then she hung up. Not a single, we'll talk later. Just click. Then Dad followed up with, pay for your sister's prom or don't bother calling yourself part of this family. I just stared at the screen, stunned. That wasn't a request. That was a threat. The kind of thing you'd expect from some manipulative ex, not your own parents. I sat there trying to process the audacity of it after everything I've done for them. All the bills, the so-called emergencies, the times I covered their mistakes, and they still had the guts to throw family in my face like it was some kind of weapon. 5 minutes later, Dad texted again. "You're supposed to help. Don't make this harder than it has to be." That one sat in my head for hours. Don't make this harder, like I was the problem, like me saying no was some betrayal of the family code. I sat there staring at those messages, the word family bouncing around in my head like a bad echo. It didn't feel like love anymore. It felt like a transaction. For the first time, I started wondering if all my help over the years had just turned into their expectation. Looking back, I probably should have seen it coming. My family's been running on favoritism since my sister learned how to talk. She was the baby, the miracle child, born years after me. The surprise they treated like royalty. I was just the warm-up act. Everything I did was expected, but everything she did was special. That was the pattern. I worked hard. She got praised. I achieved things. She got celebrated. When I got my first full-time job, my parents said, "That's nice. Just don't forget to help us when we're older." When she got her first social media sponsorship for posting makeup videos, they said, "She's going places." It was always like that. Me grinding to prove I was capable. Her getting rewarded just for existing. And the older we got, the worse it got. When she turned 16, my parents surprised him. No, surprised her, with a used convertible. When I turned 16, I was mowing lawns to save for a secondhand laptop. My mom called it building character. Apparently, I was full of character by the time I hit adulthood. Then came Dad's stroke. I still remember the phone call. Mom's voice was trembling. He collapsed at work. They said it's mild, but he won't be able to go back full time. My gut twisted. No matter how messed up our dynamic was, he was still my dad. I drove straight to the hospital, stayed there for days, handling whatever needed handling. That's where things shifted. Guilt is a funny thing. It can make you do stupid stuff in the name of family. When Dad got discharged, their finances were a mess. Mom couldn't keep up with bills, the mortgage, medical costs. I stepped up. I opened a joint family account with me listed as the primary holder after Dad's stroke. The bank let me add them as joint users. But since the account was technically tied to my SSN, any large external transfers needed my approval. I figured it was safer that way. I told them, "This is for necessities only. Bills, groceries, medication, that's it." For the first year, I kept an eye on everything. Every withdrawal was small and reasonable. $80 for groceries, $120 for electricity, $200 for Dad's checkups. I felt good about it, like I was doing the right thing. I wasn't rich, but my business was finally doing well, and I wanted to take care of them. That's what a decent daughter does, right? Then life got busy. My business took off. I started managing bigger clients, and I stopped checking the account as much. I trusted them. They'd shown they could handle it responsibly, so I eased off. Big mistake. Slowly, things started to feel off. My sister began posting pictures online. Expensive outfits, fancy brunches, weekend getaways with friends. I brushed it off at first. Maybe she had a job I didn't know about. Maybe my parents were giving her small allowances. But then Mom started calling more often, always with some vague story. "We had another unexpected expense, honey. Can you help us out this month?" "What expense?" I'd ask. "Oh, just bills." Always bills. Never any specifics. And Dad, he barely talked anymore. Every time I tried asking what was going on, he'd deflect. "Your mom's handling it," he'd say, voice flat, or, "It's under control." I told myself not to overthink it. They'd been through enough. Dad couldn't work. Mom was probably stressed. And my sister was young. I kept sending money when they asked. Sometimes I'd ask how the account was doing, and Mom would say, "We're careful. Don't worry." But I did worry. I just didn't act on it. Looking back, I think I didn't want to know the truth. I wanted to keep believing I was doing something good, that I was the responsible one, holding things together while they tried their best. The idea that they might actually be taking advantage of me was too ugly to process, but things kept stacking up. The calls for money came more frequently. The explanations got vaguer. My sister's lifestyle somehow got flashier, even though she didn't have a job. The math didn't add up, but I ignored it. When you grow up being the problem solver, you start confusing being used with being needed. It's embarrassing to admit it now, but I think part of me liked being the dependable one, the one who could fix things, the one they turned to. It made me feel like I finally mattered in a family that never really saw me unless they wanted something. And yeah, maybe that's why I didn't notice sooner, because deep down I didn't want to believe they were taking advantage of me. I wanted to believe they were just struggling, that helping them was the right thing. Turns out it was just the convenient thing for them. So yeah, call it stupidity, call it denial, whatever you want. I ignored every red flag because I didn't want to face the reality that my family didn't need saving. They just needed someone willing to pay the price for their comfort. And for years, that someone was me. The next morning, I was back at work trying to get my head straight. I told myself I'd ignore their messages, focus on clients, and move on. Then my phone buzzed with that specific tone I hadn't heard in a long time. My bank alert. I looked down and froze. Alert. Pending external transfer, $5,000. Because I was the primary account holder, the bank froze the transfer and sent me a confirmation alert. I hadn't seen one of those in years. For a second, I thought I misread it. Then I saw the time, 8:42 a.m., less than 24 hours after my sister demanded $3,000 for prom. My pulse jumped. I'd set that alert years ago to notify me about any withdrawal over $20,500. It was a security measure I completely forgot existed. And now suddenly, it was flashing at me like a warning siren. I opened my banking app and stared at the pending notification. $5,000 from the joint family account. It wasn't processed yet, just sitting there waiting for confirmation. My gut twisted. I hadn't touched that account in months. Since the account was technically under my name, any big transfer like that needed my manual approval. They could swipe their debit cards freely for everyday stuff, groceries, gas, whatever, but this was different. It meant someone had tried to send money out of the account completely. Either way, I wasn't about to just hit approve. I called my sister first. She picked up after the second ring, sounding like she'd just woken up. "Morning," I said, voice flat. "You try to move $5,000 out of the family account?" "What?" she mumbled. "No, what are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb, Lex. I got a notification. $5,000 pending transfer." "I didn't do anything," she said quickly, her tone flipping from sleepy to defensive. "Ask Mom." "So you have no idea about this?" "No," she snapped. "And stop accusing me of stuff. You're being paranoid." "Yeah," I said. "Funny how paranoid always ends up being right in this family." She huffed. "You're ridiculous," and hung up. Typical. Next up, Mom. I didn't even want to call, but I had to. She answered on the first ring, already in her sweet but manipulative tone. "Candace, how are you?" "How?" "Cut it," I said. "Why is there a $5,000 transfer pending from the joint account?" There was a pause, then she said, "Oh, that. Don't worry. It's just something we needed to cover. You can go ahead and approve it." "Cover what exactly?" I asked. Bills, repairs, things like that." "Bills don't cost $5,000, Mom." She sighed loudly, like I was the one being unreasonable. "Your father's been stressed. Your sister has prom coming up. We're just trying to make things easier." I laughed, but there wasn't a trace of humor in it. So, easier means draining the account without asking. "Don't be dramatic," she snapped. "You act like we're stealing from you." "You're not stealing," I said. "Watch your mouth," she said coldly. "We're family. You wouldn't even have that business if we hadn't supported you." "Supported me?" I repeated. "You mean the moral support of constant guilt tripping?" "Candace, you need to calm down. Approve the transfer and stop making everything a fight." "I'm not approving anything until you tell me what it's for." Another pause, then she said, quieter this time. "You'll understand when you see the photos." "What photos?" "Your sister's prom." And that was it. She hung up. I sat there staring at my phone like it had insulted my intelligence. Photos. She wanted me to approve a $5,000 transfer for prom pictures. I refused it immediately. I didn't even bother calling my dad. He'd just echo her nonsense. "Your mother's handling it," or "Don't stress her out." Same script every time. My brain was running in circles. If they were confident enough to request $5,000 in one shot, how many smaller transactions had slipped past me without alerts? I hadn't checked the detailed history in months, maybe years. I needed answers, real ones. That's when I thought of Sam. Sam's a longtime friend and my go-to whenever something smells fishy. He's a lawyer, sharp as hell, and not the type to sugarcoat things. I shot him a quick text. Hey, need legal eyes on something? Might be family related. He replied in seconds. That sounds bad already. Come by the office tonight, 6 p.m. Perfect, I wrote back. The rest of the day, I couldn't focus on a single thing. Every time my phone buzzed, I thought it was another withdrawal. I kept checking the app, just to make sure that pending status hadn't switched to approved. It didn't. Not yet. Not. But the timing, the excuses, the casual way Mom talked about it, it all fit too neatly. They weren't panicking because to them, this wasn't stealing. It was normal. It was expected. When 6 rolled around, I drove to Sam's office. He was waiting, sleeves rolled up, sipping coffee like he'd already predicted the mess. What's up? He asked. I laid it all out. The prom text, the guilt tripping, the $5,000 alert. He leaned back. You didn't approve it, right? Of course not. Good, he said. Bring your laptop tomorrow. I'll help you dig through the account history. Let's see what they've been doing. I nodded. Thanks, I've got a bad feeling about this. You should, he said. If this isn't their first time, it's going to get ugly. I stopped a $5,000 transfer, but the damage had been happening for a long time. And as I sat there staring at the screen that night, it hit me. They hadn't just asked for help. They'd built their lifestyle around expecting it. By the next evening, I was done guessing. I drove to Sam's office straight after work, still wearing the same half-ironed shirt from the morning. The whole day had been noise, calls, emails, and that same $5,000 alert sitting in my inbox like a ticking time bomb. I didn't approve it, obviously, but I needed to know what was really going on. No more maybe. When I walked in, he was already behind his desk, sleeves rolled up, glasses low on his nose, staring at his laptop like he was about to cross-examine the bank itself. He nodded at the chair in front of him. You bring the login details? I handed him a folder. Everything's in there. He started typing, his fingers flying across the keyboard. I sat across from him, tapping my foot against the carpet, the silence thick enough to choke on. A few minutes later, he leaned forward, eyes narrowing at the screen. Well, he said slowly, you weren't exaggerating. What do you see? I asked, leaning in. He turned the laptop toward me. Look at this. It's been going on for years. The first few pages looked normal. Small transactions, grocery stores, utility payments. Then the pattern changed. Hundreds turned into thousands. And then there were names that had no business showing up. Jewelry stores, boutique clothing shops, travel agencies, and what looked like a prom event planner. Sam scrolled through the list, his tone even but firm. These charges go back 4 years, small enough individually that you wouldn't notice, but together? He pulled up the total. We're talking just over 80,000. My chest tightened. I stared at the screen, trying to process the number. 80,000? He nodded. Yep, slow bleed. They probably thought if they kept it under the radar, you'd never check. I rubbed my temples. I feel like an idiot. Honestly, you're human, Sam said, almost smiling. You trusted your family. That's what makes this sting. I've seen a lot of cases like this. I looked at the breakdown again. Jewelry store charges popped up every few months. Boutique names I didn't recognize. Payments to what looked like a travel agency in Kansas City. Then those tiny sneaky charges. $300 here, $450 there, always labeled as household MSC or personal expense. Sam kept scrolling. Credit card companies, too. They've been funneling your money to cover their debts. I leaned forward, jaw tightening. So all those times they said they were short on bills or had a medical emergency were lies, Sam finished. He didn't flinch saying it. It hit me hard, but not in the way I expected. I didn't feel sad or broken. I just felt cold, like I'd finally hit the point past disappointment. Sam glanced at me. You want to see the prom thing? I frowned. What do you mean? He highlighted one of the recent transactions. I almost laughed. They didn't even try to hide it. They didn't think they had to, Sam said. They probably assumed you'd never check again. He wasn't wrong. They'd trained me to look the other way, to believe that family helps family meant shut up and pay. I slumped back in the chair, staring at the glowing screen. Over 80 grand, I repeated quietly. That's how much I've basically donated to them. Sam nodded and started printing the records. Each page slid out of the printer with a sharp click, 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 proof of 4 years of manipulation. He handed me a thick stack. I'd keep these safe. You'll need them if things get messy. Messy? I asked. People like this don't just admit they're wrong, he said. They double down. He wasn't wrong about that either. I flipped through the pages, skimming the transactions, the dates, the stores. Every line felt like a slap, a reminder of how blind I'd been. Mom's, we had another rough month. Dad's, we're struggling to keep up. My sister's, I deserve this. Every word replayed in my head, but now they sounded different. Less like please, more like rehearsed lines. All those emergencies, lies, every last one of them. I should have felt heartbroken, but I didn't. I was past that. It's like once you see how far someone's willing to go to take advantage of you, the love part just switches off. At home, I spread the printed papers across my kitchen table like puzzle pieces. Lines of transactions, dates, and charges filled every inch of the surface. Jewelry, boutique, travel, event planner, over and over. It was like watching my own generosity get itemized into luxury goods. I pulled out my phone and scrolled back through old text messages from my mom. We're short this month. Can you help with groceries? The car needs repairs. Every single message now had a $sign attached to it in my head. Not one was real. I sat there for hours, just looking at it all. My phone buzzed a few times. Mom, Dad, even my sister. I didn't answer. I was done explaining myself to people who only listened when I was paying their bills. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about getting even. It was about ending it. By midnight, I had everything stacked neatly in a folder. Every printout, every bank record, every lie documented. I stared at the folder for a long time, then set it by the front door. Tomorrow I was going to visit them. Not to argue or beg for an explanation, just to end this once and for all. The next morning, I woke up early. Didn't even need an alarm. I barely slept. Just kept staring at that folder on the table like it was some kind of loaded weapon. By 7, I grabbed it, got in my car, and started the drive to my parents' place. Their house sat in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Same home sweet home sign they've had since the 90s. The kind of place that looks normal from the outside, but you know the walls have heard a lot of yelling. When I pulled into the driveway, I took a deep breath, grabbed the folder, and walked up to the door. Before I could knock, my mom opened it like she'd been waiting. "Candace," she said, all tight smile and fake warmth. "Did you finally calm down?" I stepped inside without answering. The air in there felt thick, not just from the stuffy heater, but from tension. My dad was standing near the window, arms crossed, face unreadable. My sister was on the couch, scrolling her phone like she couldn't care less. "Sit down," my mom said. "We need to talk." "Yeah," I said, dropping the folder on the coffee table. "We do." She frowned when she saw the stack of papers. "What's that?" "Proof," I said flatly. Her smile twitched. "Proof of what?" I sat down, spread the papers out slowly. "Let's start with this one. Payments to credit card companies. Over 4 years, you used my money to pay off at least 3 different cards. Then there's the jewelry store charges, the boutique receipts, and oh!" I pulled one sheet out and slid it across the table. "The prom planner. That one's new." My sister glanced up from her phone for half a second, then looked back down. Not even a flinch. My mom's face went from pale to red in record time. "How dare you dig through our finances," she snapped. "That's private." I let out a dry laugh. "Private? It's my account." "You think we're stealing from you?" she shot back. "Do you want me to read the totals out loud?" I said, flipping another page. "Because this one here," I tapped the line item. "Want to explain that one?" My dad finally spoke, his voice low but firm. "You're supposed to help us, Candace. We raised you. You wouldn't even be where you are without us." I turned to him slowly. "You mean the same way I helped when I covered your bills after the stroke? When I paid your mortgage twice? Or when I set up this account to keep things afloat while you said you were drowning?" He looked away, jaw tight. "You don't understand. Debt piles up. We did what we had to do." "Yeah," I said, my voice steady. "You did it with my money." My mom slammed her hand on the table. "You're ungrateful. After everything we've done for you." I cut her off. "Everything you've done for me? You mean the lectures, the guilt trips, and the lies? Every time I sent money, you told me it was for groceries or medical bills. Turns out it was to keep your luxury spending alive." She pointed a shaking finger at me. "We did it for your sister. She deserves a better start than we gave you." I stared at her, genuinely speechless for a second. "A better start? You've already given her everything she's ever wanted. Meanwhile, I had to fight for every inch I got. You didn't even come to my business launch because she had a dance recital." "She's our baby," Mom said, like that excused everything. She's 18, I said. She's not a baby. She's rotten spoiled. My sister finally looked up, rolling her eyes. You're being dramatic, she said, her voice dripping with attitude. It's just money. I turned to her, calm but sharp. You don't get to say that when it's not your money. She sank back into the couch, muttering something under her breath. I didn't even care what it was. Mom leaned forward, her voice low and trembling. You think you can just walk in here and judge us? You're not perfect either. You cut us off emotionally. You never visit. You act like you're better than us. I leaned back in the chair, folded my arms, and said, You're right. I am better than being used. I worked for everything I have. You turned my help into a paycheck, and now you're angry that the ATM finally stopped spitting cash. That shut her up for a second. Dad tried to step in again. You can't just abandon your family like this, daughter. I stood up, gathering the papers. You abandoned me first, I said quietly. The moment you decided lying was easier than asking. Mom shot up from the couch. Don't walk out on us, Candace. You're destroying everything we've built. I paused at the doorway and looked back. No, Mom, you did that the day you taught my sister that love comes with a price tag. Her face froze. Dad looked away. My sister kept scrolling like nothing happened, and just like that, I knew there was nothing left to say. I walked out the door while they yelled behind me. Words like selfish, heartless, and ungrateful echoed through the hallway. None of it stuck. For once, it didn't even hurt. For the first time in years, I felt free. That feeling stayed with me the whole drive home. The yelling, the guilt trips, all of it just faded behind me like static. I didn't feel like a bad daughter or some heartless jerk. I felt like a woman who'd finally stopped drowning. By the time I got back to my place, I already knew what I needed to do next. The joint account had to go. I logged into the bank and pulled up the same account I'd opened years ago to help them. Because I was the primary holder, closing it was easy. The bank just revoked their access, froze their cards, and wired the remaining balance back to me. It took about 10 minutes to erase 4 years of being their personal ATM. When it was done, I drafted one final text. No long explanation, no speeches, no emotional closure, just this. Accounts closed. Don't contact me again. I hit send and set the phone down. Didn't even take a full minute for it to start buzzing. First my mom, then my dad, then my sister. The screen lit up like a Christmas tree. Mom's messages came in waves. Candace, what have you done? You're being cruel. We have bills to pay. Dad's tone was colder. This isn't the way to handle things. You're tearing the family apart. Don't do something you'll regret. Then came my sister, of course. Wow, you're seriously pathetic. You ruined everything for me. I hope you're happy, loser. I watched the messages flood in one after another. Then I did what I should have done years ago. I blocked them. All of them. Texts, calls, emails, gone. The silence that followed felt almost unreal. For weeks, my phone didn't buzz. No emergencies. No guilt trips. No, we're struggling texts. For the first time in my adult life, I could actually breathe without feeling like I owed someone an apology for being successful. I poured myself into my work. My business grew, clients kept coming in, and my days were quieter. Not peaceful right away, just quiet in that weird way when your brain's still waiting for chaos that never comes. Every once in a while, I'd wonder what they were doing. Not because I missed them. I didn't. But because curiosity is a hard habit to kill. I never reached out, though. I'd made my line clear. About 3 months later, I got my answer anyway. It came from my cousin Tyler, one of the few relatives who still had a functioning moral compass. He called one afternoon while I was on lunch break. Hey, he said carefully, you hear what's going on with your folks? I frowned. No. Why? They, lost the house. I stopped mid-bite. What do you mean, lost it? Foreclosure. Apparently they couldn't keep up with payments. Moved into some small apartment near downtown. I leaned back in my chair. You're kidding. He sighed. Wish I was. They filed for bankruptcy last month. I didn't say anything for a moment. Not because I was shocked. More like because I wasn't. Deep down, I'd seen it coming the whole time. You can only fake stability for so long before reality catches up. Tyler kept talking. Your sister's working now, though. Retail job at one of those clothing chains. First time she's ever had a job. I think that one actually made me smirk. Guess the prom fund finally ran dry. He let out a short laugh. Yeah, life hit them hard. We talked a few more minutes, mostly small stuff, then hung up. I just sat there for a while after, staring out the window. The sky looked clearer that day. Maybe it was just in my head, but everything felt lighter. They'd burned through all the money. lost the house they bragged about for years, and the same sister who called me selfish was now folding clothes for minimum wage. I didn't feel joy about it. No part of me was sitting there celebrating their downfall. What I felt was closer to clarity, like the universe finally adjusted its balance sheet. For years, I carried them, convinced myself I was being a good daughter, that helping them was what family meant. But now, with the noise gone, I realized something simple and ugly. They never wanted me to stand beside them. They just wanted me to hold them up. And the moment I stopped, they collapsed. That's not family. That's dependency, dressed up as love. Weeks passed, then months. Life moved on. I started sleeping better, eating better, even laughing more. My business hit new highs because I wasn't constantly bleeding money or energy trying to save people who didn't want saving. Never again. Somewhere in that silence, I realized something I wish I'd understood years ago. Family doesn't mean lifelong debt. It's supposed to be built on love, not obligation, on respect, not manipulation. The moment money became the glue, it stopped being family. So yeah, I lost them. But I gained something better, myself. Months passed since I walked out of that house, and honestly, I didn't realize how much tension I'd been carrying until it was gone. No late-night guilt calls, no "we're short on bills" texts, no fake emergencies, just silence. The kind that doesn't feel lonely, just peaceful. Every so often, my cousin Tyler would check in with updates. I didn't ask, but he'd tell me anyway, like he was trying to keep me in the loop without dragging me back into it. Then one afternoon, about 8 months after I went no contact, I heard a knock at the door. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity won. When I looked through the peephole, my stomach dropped a little. There they were, my mom and my sister, standing side by side like they'd practiced the pose. My mom was holding a small bag, like she'd brought something, probably an emotional prop. My sister had her arms crossed, wearing sunglasses even though it was cloudy out. I opened the door halfway. "What do you want?" Mom's smile was tight, rehearsed. "Can we come in? We just want to talk." "Talking's not usually what you come here for," I said. She sighed, her voice soft. "Please, Candace, we've made mistakes. We just want to fix things." I looked at both of them, trying to read their faces. My sister couldn't even make eye contact. She was scanning my porch like she'd rather be anywhere else. Against my better judgment, I stepped aside and let them in. Mom immediately launched into it. "We've been through a lot since you left," she said, sitting down. "Your father's been sick again. We lost the house. Things have been hard." "I heard," I said flatly. She nodded quickly, like she was hoping sympathy might crack me open. "We've realized how wrong we were. You were only trying to help, and we took advantage of that. We're truly sorry." My sister finally spoke up, her tone robotic. "Yeah, we shouldn't have said those things to you." It almost sounded believable, almost. Then my mom pulled an envelope from her bag and slid it across the table. "We're trying to get back on our feet, but the debts, well, they're piling up again. The bank's being impossible. We just need a little help, this one last time." There it was, the real reason for the visit. I leaned back and stared at them both. "You know, I was actually waiting to see how long it would take before you asked for money again." Mom's face went pale. "That's not fair." "It's completely fair," I said. "You've been playing the same game for years. You cry, apologize, and then hold out your hand." Her voice trembled. "You don't understand what we're going through." "Oh, I understand perfectly," I said, standing up. "You're still trying to make your problems my responsibility." My sister's mask cracked. Then she dropped the fake calm and sneered. "You're pathetic. You sit here acting all high and mighty because you have money, but you're just a selfish jerk who abandoned her family." I turned to her, calm as ever. "You're folding jeans at a store because you never learned the value of work. Don't talk to me about responsibility." Her jaw dropped, and for once she didn't have a comeback. Mom stood up too, tears welling in her eyes. "You've changed, Candace. You used to care about us." "I cared," I said, "until I realized caring was just another way for you to control me." They both stared at me, waiting for me to cave. I didn't. I pointed toward the door. "We're done here." My sister muttered something under her breath as she stormed out. Mom lingered for a second, maybe hoping I'd stop her, maybe realizing I wouldn't. Then she left too, pulling the door closed behind her. The silence that followed was heavy, but it wasn't painful. It was relief. Pure, simple relief. I stood there for a while, looking at the empty spot where that envelope sat on the table. I could have helped them. I had the money. But that's not what they needed. What they needed was to finally live in the world they built, without my safety net. That night, I sat outside on my porch, watching the sun go down. The air was cool, quiet. My phone stayed silent, and I hoped it would stay that way. I thought about how everyone says family's everything, but no one talks about how sometimes family is the thing that drains you dry. Boundaries don't make you cruel, they make you sane. And yeah, they still probably tell people I'm cold, selfish, heartless, but I sleep fine. Because at the end of the day, they called me selfish for protecting my money. But I'm not the one who stole from family. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube, this video deserves to blow up. And it keeps even crazier stories coming your way. So, if you've ever been the one holding everything together while everyone else takes advantage, if you've ever been guilted for saying no, let this be your reminder. You don't owe anyone your peace. You can love people and still close the door. You can forgive them and still walk away. You can care deeply and still choose yourself. Because family doesn't mean sacrifice without limits. It doesn't mean giving until you're empty. Sometimes walking away isn't cold, it's courageous. And sometimes losing people who drain you is how you finally find yourself. That's what I learned the hard way. And honestly, I wouldn't change a thing.